a man named Mathew, who lived all alone in a quiet mountain village. Life was hard for him. His parents had died when he was young, leaving him to manage on his own. Despite being over 40, Mathew couldn't afford to marry. He survived by farming a small plot and working as a forest ranger. Every other day, he explored the mountains to keep watch over the area. Although the forest job could be tough and risky, for Mathew, it wasn't just a job. It was something he truly enjoyed and a way to earn extra money. One cold winter morning, Mathew started out early, trudging through the snow. Even though the snow wasn't deep, it slowed him down, making him stop often to catch his breath. Despite needing to finish farming before sundown, he pushed on until exhaustion finally made him sit down for a brief rest. As he sat there, taking a break, he suddenly heard faint whines in the distance, sparking his curiosity and making him wonder what could be out there. At first, Mathew thought it was just his tired mind playing tricks on him because of the snow. But as the sounds continued, he followed them to a patch of grass. There, he discovered a small tiger cub, trembling and weak. The cub was covered in bite marks, and one of its legs looked broken. Mathew's heart sank at the sight of the injured cub. Initially, he hesitated, worried its mother might be nearby. He waited quietly, hiding behind a large stone. When no one appeared after some time, he knew he couldn't leave the cub alone. He gently picked it up and carefully descended the mountain. As he reached his cottage, Mathew gently placed the cub on a makeshift bed of old clothes and quickly gathered medicinal herbs to stop the bleeding. Living all his life in the mountains had taught Mathew about herbs. He relied on them instead of costly medicines he couldn't afford. Grinding the herbs, he carefully applied them to the cub's wounds and fashioned splints from wooden sticks for its broken leg. With night approaching, Mathew realized the cub needed nourishment, but he wasn't sure what to feed it. Then he remembered his dog had recently had puppies. Hurrying outside, Mathew fetched a bowl, milked the dog, and offered the milk to the cub. Thankfully, the cub drank slowly but steadily. This gave Mathew hope. As long as the cub could eat, it had a chance. He named the cub Simba. Over the following months, Simba thrived on the dog's milk, growing stronger day by day. Mathew and Simba grew inseparable, the cub often joining Mathew on his mountain patrols, becoming his loyal companion in the wilderness. Over time, Simba grew into a magnificent tiger. Despite his size and strength, he kept his playful and affectionate nature, almost like a dog. However, having a tiger at home was risky, and keeping it a secret caused problems once people found out. It even became a legal issue. Despite Simba now being fully grown, Mathew knew it was time to let him go back to the wild where he truly belonged. One morning, Mathew took Simba deep into the forest. Kneeling down, he gently stroked Simba's head and spoke softly to him, hoping Simba understood it was time to return to nature. Simba seemed to sense the seriousness of the moment. As Mathew turned to leave, Simba tried to follow, but Mathew, holding back tears, gently scolded him until Simba reluctantly turned and disappeared into the forest. It was a tough goodbye, but Mathew knew it was the right thing for Simba's sake and for everyone's safety. Although Mathew was sad, he knew he had to keep working hard to make a living. He continued farming and patrolling the forest every day. Little did he know, more excitement was waiting just around the corner. But before we delve deeper into the story, don't forget to subscribe to The Wild Wonder and give that like button a tap. Let's continue the story. One day, while Mathew was patrolling the mountain, he suddenly collapsed. Sarah, gathering firewood nearby, spotted him and rushed to his aid. She shook him until he woke up, then helped him down the mountain. Their bond grew as they spent more time together. Sarah came from a poor family and left school early to support them. Her days were spent in the fields and chopping wood. Despite her hardships, her kindness and resourcefulness impressed Mathew deeply. They often ventured into the forest together, which Sarah loved. Overcoming objections from Sarah's family, they married when Mathew was almost 50. Together, Mathew and Sarah built a joyful life. Sarah assisted with farming, and they cherished each moment. Eventually, they welcomed a daughter named Michelle. As Michelle grew older, she often accompanied her father on mountain patrols. Yet, life has its challenges. One day, Mathew felt a sharp pain in his waist while patrolling and collapsed. Sarah rushed to his side and managed to get him to a hospital, though it was a difficult journey. The doctor checked Mathew immediately and ran some tests. The news was devastating. Mathew's kidneys were failing. Surgery was too expensive, so Mathew decided not to pursue treatment. Back home, he relied on traditional medicine, which seemed to help at first, but his health eventually worsened. With Mathew's health declining, Sarah took over his job as a forest ranger to support their family and secure Michael's future. One fateful day, while Mathew endured excruciating pain at home and Sarah headed into the forest, a neighbor rushed in with alarming news. A fire had broken out in the forest where Sarah was working. Despite his agony, Mathew summoned every ounce of courage and raced to the scene. Unaware that rescue teams were already on the way, Mathew took a shortcut only he knew. He searched desperately for Sarah amidst the growing chaos of smoke and flames. His heart pounded with fear, but he refused to give up. As he scanned the area, he saw smoke billowing in the distance, a sign of the spreading fire. Time was running out. Trapped and surrounded by the advancing flames, Mathew faced a terrifying predicament. Just when he felt overwhelmed by the heat and smoke, a miracle happened. Out of the haze emerged a familiar figure. It was Simba, the tiger Mathew had rescued years ago. Recognizing Mathew's distress, Simba instinctively approached and nudged him, urging him to follow. With strength he didn't know he had, Mathew grasped onto Simba's guidance, trusting in the bond they shared. Despite Mathew's initial fear, he followed Simba through the burning forest. At one scary moment, a burning tree fell and trapped Mathew. Without hesitation, Simba, now a strong tiger, came to help him, freeing Mathew and guiding him to safety. Although he was deeply sad not to find Sarah, Mathew's first priority was escaping the flames. After following Simba's lead, they finally made it back home. To Mathew's surprise, Sarah was waiting for him there. He rushed to hug her, eager to hear how she had safely returned from the forest. Sarah tearfully explained how she had fled as soon as the fire started, only to find out that Mathew had already gone back into the forest looking for her. Relieved that Sarah was safe, Mathew couldn't stop thinking about how Simba had risked everything to save him. Despite trying to stop Simba from going back into the dangerous fire, the tiger disappeared into the smoke and flames. Mathew's incredible story of survival with a wild companion captured the world's attention. During interviews, he openly shared his early struggles and the support he received for his kidney treatment from a generous organization. After a successful operation, Mathew regained his health, thanks in part to Simba's bravery. The small act of kindness Mathew showed when rescuing Simba had a huge impact on his life. Today, Mathew and Sarah treasure their happiness with their daughter Michael, thankful for the bond that saved Mathew's life and brought them together as a strong family. That's all for today. Now, it's your turn to share your thoughts about this story. What's the next story you'd like to know? Let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any of these amazing videos on The Wild Wonder.